Hi, everybody. I'm Dennis Daly. I spent 20 years with United Press International, most of it with the old UPI Radio Network. And my favorite assignment was going on the road producing and hosting American Montage. It was an hour-long weekly program. Now here's an edited version of one of those shows. Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's American Montage, the sound of the surf. But the question is, where is it? On the coast of California, maybe near Key West, Florida, or off Nova Scotia? No, we are in Europe. When I found out I would get to go to Malta, the first thing I asked was, where was it? I remember the movie The Maltese Falcon, and if you don't know the story, there's not time to tell it here. Malta consists of several small islands. The population is only 1/3 just south of Sicily, Italy, very close to the coast of Africa, but strategically located in the Mediterranean, so much so it was very important to World War II and took the heaviest bombing of the entire war. This is part of our series on international travel. We're going to be talking about the ancient temples on Malta, some 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 years old. The religious heritage. There's a church here for every day of the year. The wonderful winding streets and the story of the knights who made all of this possible. From Malta, this is American Montage. Malta's a wonderful place, and to make it even better, and I should back up from the ocean here a wee bit, the Mediterranean is churning today. Malta's a wonderful place, and it is even easier to get around because the second language of the Maltese people is English. The British rule this area for about 150 years. You drive on the left side of the road. That's kind of confusing. The streets are very winding and circuitous. But Malta is friendly and wonderful and fun, and there is gorgeous Mediterranean sun here. So this week, come with me as we visit the island nation of Malta. The Maltese Travel Bureau does such a wonderful job in providing journalists such as myself a wonderful overview of the islands, the main island of Malta and the smaller island of Gozo and the little bitty island of Camino, where I think there's just a resort on there. It's about the size of a football field. A wonderful, gracious, warm, intelligent, gregarious woman named Tessie Ajus. I can't say too many nice things about her. She was the travel guide who took us all over Malta and showed us the wonderful history of that complex country.
Before Valletta was built, the Knights settled in Birgu, which is just across where you see that old castle there. Mm-hmm. That's an old castle, a fort, built by the Arabs in the 9th century. So we're going back 1,000, aren't we?
I think the thing that people need to realize about Malta is because of its strategic location in the Mediterranean, mm-hmm. and the fact everything was sea traffic back then, anything that went back and forth through the Mediterranean passed by here.
Yes, this is why the Maltese are so good at ship repair and shipbuilding, because since Phoenician times they have had to repair sails and sailing boats and so on. So even now, for example, we've just had the Cunard, the one that crashed in the Suez, come in here for repairs. It's one of our...
That is a large ship. Something else you need immediately here, and before the day is over, I need to buy a pair of sunglasses.
Yes, you do, because the sun is really hot. Actually, there's a very good shop in Republic Street. We can go there. So anyway, now, starting with the breakwater, what you see down there is Fort Ricasoli, the first little peninsula. Is Fort Ricasoli. And then comes the next one. That is Bigi, or rather used to be Bigi Hospital. In the time of the Knights, it was built by one of the bailiffs whose name was Bigi. And he built that palace for himself. It was later taken over by the British and turned into a naval hospital. As a matter of fact, you can see there's a lift at the side so that wounded sailors from the ship would berth alongside. They were taken straight in the lift up straight into the ward. This, as I told you, is the old fort, and beyond it is Birgu, where the Knights first settled. They fought the Great Siege from there, and when they were victorious, they decided they would build an impenetrable city on this peninsula, which was called Mount Shibaras. And then, of course, after the Great Siege, immediately after, they started building Valletta. That is Senglia, which was built later by the Knights. It was named after Grandmaster Le Sengre. Then come the docks. And then comes the Marsa.
You know, architecturally, I have obviously not been overseas before. This is my first trip. Much of what you see, because of the light pinkish, yellowish color, is reminiscent of what I have seen of pictures of Rome. Of course, we're not that far from Italy here, but it's amazing how almost every inch of the peninsula, except for the streets, is so filled with this sturdy stone type of architecture.
Yes. The stone is local. It's Globigerina limestone. The island, we have two main types of stone. It's either coralline limestone, which is the very hard stone, or the soft stone, which is Globigerina limestone. It's a sedimentary stone. I'll show you when we go to the quarries. I'll show you where it all comes from.
Okay.
So that gives it the color. When it's first quarried, it's white. Then it turns this sort of golden color.
Looks gorgeous at sunset.
It does.
Yes.
It does. It fits in nicely with the. And as for the architecture, of course, it's all contemporary with what the Knights came from in the 16th century.
It is a fortified island nation, and most famous, I guess, for the influence of the Knights. They were there for nearly 300 years, and the great concentration of beautiful churches and tapestry and paintings and gold and silver, largely because of the influence of the Knights. We're being taken around the country by a very knowledgeable lady, Tessia Juice, and I wanted to go back to one element of history, and that is what many people think of first when you mention Malta, and that was the shipwreck of St. Paul there.
Well, when St. Paul was shipwrecked off the island of Malta in AD 60, Malta was under Roman domination then, and the governor of Malta was named Publius. And it is said that this is the precise site where his house stood.
Walking through a ruined temple with our tour guide and people from all over the world to see the prehistory of Malta. You know, we're in the large one, and there seems to be at one end a much more preserved something, almost looking like walk-in ovens in a way.
Nobody really knows what it is, but the nearest thing they have come to is that it was where they kept the animals till they needed to sacrifice them, you see.
Kind of stalls.
Yes. The central stone isn't original. You see, the top one cracked over the years, and so they had to prop it up with a stone. So that wasn't there originally, but the side ones were, the high ones were. And on this side you can see a very well preserved hearth now where they used to roast the animals. And over here used to stand a plinth with a snake standing on its tail, which in some religions is a sign of fertility. That's to be found in the Archaeology Museum in the Citadel.
Well, a very common carving on Malta is of the goddess of fertility from that era.
Yes. Yes, that was found at the Tarshin temple.
Who was a rather plump lady.
Yes, we reverently call her the fat lady.
Not quite a beauty by modern day standards, I'm afraid.
I shouldn't think so.
Tess, this is incredible scenery here. The one thing I haven't asked you yet is, what is it like to live here?
On Gozo?
On Malta in general.
Oh, Malta in general. Well, it's pleasant enough. Life is slower. It's pleasant.
You spent a lot of years showing people such as myself around. You know where all the nooks and crannies are.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But it's pleasant, provided you get away once a year, as the island is so small. Provided you get away once a year, it's heavenly, I should say.
And there you have it, another edited episode of one of the American Montage programs prepared for the UPI Radio Network back in the 1980s and 90s. I'm Dennis Daly. Thanks for listening. Thanks for going with me this week. And check YouTube for more American Montage programs.